Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We're joined by Lindsay Joyce, who's the founder and CEO of 3F Living, based out of New York City. Yeah, they're a team of creative professionals led by a husband and wife duo. We want to find out more all about this. And of course, we're talking architecture, interior design, and so much more. Let me have Lindsay introduce herself to the show. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Jill.
Pleasure to have you here.
I am the founder and CEO of 3F Living, husband-wife team. We'll get into more of that, I'm sure, later, how that works.
Great.
Yes, we do interior design and architecture in New York City. We basically help our clients from the initial design through the renovation process, project coordination, owner's representation on the job site, and basically into move-in day. We like to create a very meaningful environment for our owners and try to make the process as simple as possible.
Beautiful. Well, before we get started, I think it's important that we get to know you as a person. Tell me where you grew up, what brought you into this passion in this field, obviously. But yeah, it's good. I think it's a good start to get to know you.
Yeah. So I actually, this is going way back into high school, actually. I have always been into interior design and just into design in general. Even from like a very early age, I was always like moving things around in my room. I wanted to paint my walls, like I'd say like a million different colors. And like my parents wanted to kill me.
Of course.
No. So, I was always really into it. And my freshman year in high school, I had to pick an elective. And basically, some spots were filled on some other classes, and I ended up going into drafting. And I was kind of bummed about it because I didn't really know much about it. And I didn't really know much about interior design. So I went into the class, and within a few weeks, I fell in love with it, into the architecture, the whole process of it. And I ended up continuing through high school for 4 years. So that
and you said your drafting teacher, you said was one of your mentors too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you never know. I mean, you hear this all the time, like there could be a mentor through different processes of your life. And I really didn't think at the time that I was going to find a mentor in that classroom. And I was the only girl in the entire classroom too. So it was like a very kind of a fish out of water situation. And being in there. And yeah, I mean, he really helped to guide my influence in where I wanted to be and to really just go for it, and pursue that passion. So he helped me from putting together my portfolio to pre-interviewing with me before I would go on these interviews because I knew I wanted to come to New York. And yeah, I mean, he was a huge part of that aspect of my life in the beginning. And Mr. Salvino, that's shout out to you. You were the best. Yes. So I went and interviewed in college. I ended up going to New York School of Interior Design. And when I was interviewing at the colleges, they thought that I was a transfer from another kind of college because I was producing such, at that time, blueprints, which we don't, nobody uses Mylar anymore. And
oh my goodness, everything's online, right?
Everything's online.
3D software programs.
Absolutely. But at that time, I had huge blueprints, and I was bringing them to all these colleges, and it really, it really impressed them. And I got a few scholarships and a few things from it. So that really helped me kind of boost myself into this career. And then as I was in college, obviously all college kids are trying, especially ones that are in the city, are trying to make ends meet. And so I replied to a few ads on Craigslist just for some like odd and end jobs. I did some like Venetian plastering because I took a faux finish in college, and I thought, oh, I can do this. And so I was doing that throughout the city to like make ends meet. And then I ended up replying to a Craigslist ad in, I think it was like 2003, 2004 to host and have my own TV show. And I went through quite a few callbacks. This was like in between my junior to senior year of college. And I ended up getting the TV show on the Women's Entertainment Network on the WE channel.
Amazing. Congratulations. And that's called what?
That was called She House.
How long did it run for?
It was about 12 episodes and it ran every Saturday for basically the summer of that
Wow.
2004.
So
So, yeah.
exciting, right?
And
Wow.
it was cool. And at like the end of the last episode, they actually gave the house away to a lucky viewer where there was two viewers that came and each one, could open up the
Turn
door
the
with a
lock.
key and that's who won the house. So, it was a very cool process.
Amazing. So here you
Yeah.
are. Now you're providing architecture, you mentioned, and interior design, also project coordination. You say owner's representation, interior decorating. There's so much to you. And let's remind everyone how we can reach you. I think that's important too. The website is what?
It's www.3, the number three, the letter F, living, living.com.
Perfect.
Or,
And
the, or they could email at info@3fliving.com.
perfect. Now I know you're based out of New York City. Do you just work in the New York City area, or where, if you don't mind sharing, what states do you work in?
Sure. So, we're solely based out of Manhattan. We do, some jobs in Brooklyn and
Yeah.
also Queens and within the tri-state area. But we have in more recent years, we have a lot of clients that have second homes, like in the Berkshires or in the Hamptons, or even went to Arizona for a client.
Wow.
So, and we've kind of through COVID, interestingly enough, we realized how we could maybe we can't be there through project coordination or the construction process, but we have been able to help people from all different states kind of design on a kind of big picture level through doing Zoom calls and maybe taking one or two trips there. So, depending on the scale of the project, we can obviously go to any state, but we also have kind of a digital package that we're able to offer to clients in
Beautiful.
different areas.
Oh, and
Yeah.
on the website, I was looking at your photos before too, of the kitchens in particular. I love kitchens. I
Thanks.
feel like since COVID, everyone wants to expand their kitchen. I do. I want to knock down a wall and get rid of the dining room because we don't use it. And with the 6 and 8 year old right now, that's like the play area.
Yep.
Excuse me. But and plus you're also used to working in a lot of smaller most apartments, not all though are small. So
Yeah.
you can work in small spaces, large spaces, and kid spaces. I also read too. So you have
Yes.
kids?
I do. I have one child. He's about 4.5 right now. He's a boy. Yeah, it was such an interesting thing, especially because my husband and I work together. He's the architect. I'm the interior designer. We obviously have an internal team that works for us. But
Yeah.
as the two heads of the company, to throw a child in the mix, it was an interesting process. But it's so rewarding as a mom, it's just such a rewarding thing to kind of go through. And I also feel like that it's given me great perspective on
Yeah.
how to even design. I always, kind of knew child safe things and, products or whatnot. But I think in going through this whole process myself on a personal level and really child proofing, but also aesthetically child proofing
Yeah, true. Yeah.
is it, or organizing a space for all the toys, all the things that comes with it, is a process. And I feel like that we became better designers and architects in going through that
All right.
personally.
All right. So what else do you want to share with us? There's so much to you. Do you want to start with the
Yeah.
architecture, interior design aspect? I'm all ears.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting how our my the business kind of morphed over the years. I think that when I first started the business, I was just coming from corporate. I was working in
Mm-hmm.
corporate for a while. I transitioned from TV to graduating and then really honing in my design in corporate for healthcare design. And that's really what I did my thesis on. That's what, even though I did do TV and I did get that experience on the We Network and then a spot on HETV,
Yeah.
I was thankful for it. But it also, I also wanted something a little bit more technical to kind of, and also be part of a bigger organization and see how that worked. I knew that my end goal was to start my own company, but they don't teach you how to start an interior design company in
True.
college. At least at the time they didn't. It wasn't like a more common thing at that point. So maybe now they offer it, but At the time they didn't. And so I wanted to get that corporate experience. So I worked at HOK, which is an international architecture company. And I focused on healthcare, which I really feel is kind of like that home away from home, where if you're going into a hospital, you
True.
really want it
Yeah.
to feel so personal and comfortable. So I thought that it was a good kind of transition from residential to healthcare corporate, and then ultimately back to residential. And going through that whole process, I started HOK about 2 weeks prior to the market crash in
Oh
2000,
gosh. Oh
2008.
gosh.
And that was its own kind of process in itself, because I was the last hired. And so you assume the first fired. And anybody that worked, especially in the city at that point, it's just like, when am I going to get the call from HR on Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Because just
Yep.
massive, massive layoffs. And so I think like surviving that like really kind of taught me how to pivot and deal with curveballs. And I think that that was like a great backing for what was to come. And I worked at HOK for about 4.5 to 5 years in gaining that experience. And then I left and opened up a storefront in the city and launched 3F Living in 2012.
Wow.
Um, and when I launched 3F Living, I had a storefront which was a shared office space with a real estate firm.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of we didn't know like what this was going to do. We didn't know, I had assumed that we would be selling some furniture at the time in like a showroom type space
Mm-hmm.
that also had real estate in it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So I started the company with a partner. It ended up not working out, and I bought him out
Mm-hmm.
2 years later. And again, pivoting, curveballs, dealing with things, and kind of restructuring the business. We're not going to be selling furniture. We're not going to be doing just kitchen and baths. I wanted to take on more. So that was kind of in my work life.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, I ended up reconnecting with a
Uh-huh.
friend who is now my husband.
Ah,
Um, randomly,
I love
honestly,
it.
randomly, I met him at HOK, but we were both with other people at the time. So we were just always friends or friendly, I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
randomly one day, 2.5 years later, I bump into him on the street. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Tomek,
Wow.
like,
What are the
where are you?
chances?
What are the chances?
Ah,
He's like, it's my birthday tonight. Come to Brooklyn. I'm like, okay. So went to Brooklyn, and the rest is history. And we got married, and I was still growing the business and figuring out, where is our niche market. And I saw that the clients that were coming in were really not just decorating and interior design, which there is a difference between that. Decorating is like picking out your area rugs, your artwork, your accessories, your tables, all the things that are not nailed down that make the space look pretty, you know? And interior design is really seeing the interior architecture of the space, room layouts. How do the kitchens, opening up kitchens from like a galley kitchen to a larger kitchen, picking out all the finishes, making sure that there's a cohesive concept and design with the
mm-hmm.
tiles, the wood selection, and all of those things. And again, that was my backing. And in the recent years, that would be 2016, 2017, we were getting combination projects. And so and I'll explain what combination projects are. So that's where we'd have clients that owned an apartment, bought the apartment next door. I don't know if you live in the city, Jill, or not,
No,
or
I
have
used
this
to. I
experience.
used to. I'm back on
Okay,
Long
so you
Island.
know,
Yes, I've lived in the
know what this
city.
is. So, in the city, it's very common to buy a one bedroom. You live in it for a few years. You hope, knock on wood, that the person next door leaves
Yep.
so that you can buy the place and continue to expand. And so we were getting quite a few of these jobs, or getting much larger jobs, like 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet jobs that are full gut renovations that really required an architect to sign off on these plans. And so our internal team would work out all the designs, pick out all, room layouts, all of it, and essentially give it to an architect to look at, copy it, and just stamp
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
we would be paying so much, like as a company, like I was paying so much money, and it wasn't even a collaborative effort. It was just like a
Mm-hmm.
random consultant
Yeah.
that was signing off on our drawings. And it was so frustrating because, I would love to keep that internal and grow the team. And so as my personal relationship was developing, got engaged and married, I convinced my husband to leave corporate
Uh-huh.
and come on in. Let's restructure the business again and really hone in on what is our niche market and who are our clients. And and we did that. I feel like from 2017 through 2019, for those 2 years, we really figured out our roles and how do we grow our each individual teams, come
Mm-hmm.
together and really work together, which, that's its own, you know,
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle too, of, when do you turn it off and when do you not.
Yeah.
So we kind of worked out all of that, and now we're able to really offer our clients a holistic approach, which is like very daunting in the city. Um, you know, Even though you own something in the city, you typically own shares of something. It's either a condo or a co-op. And so the process from just wanting to open up your kitchen is very different in the city. So you have to go through, a co-op architect review process.
Mm-hmm.
As an owner, our clients, they have to hire an architect to essentially represent them.
Okay.
And then the co-op they have an architect that represents
Oh,
the
wow.
co-op.
Wow.
And
I'm
so
learning so much. Mm.
it is like an entire process on how to just, get permits to start construction. So, what I feel like we're able to provide to our clients is just a very streamlined approach to that. And instead of having, like, most people would have to hire an individualized architect and then hire a designer and then hire a contractor and then hire an expediter, and all of these different people are now, underneath one roof. Um, which I feel like I'm so happy at this point to be able to provide to our clients.
Yeah.
And I think that that really holistically helps with the architecture and interior design, because we are a team, both at work and at home. And I think that, like, when we have different types of clients, it's great to have two different perspectives to come to the table and being able to make sure that each person or everybody is heard and gets what they want in their home in the
Yeah.
best way possible.
Yeah.
So
And just curious, how does that work, right? Because in your job, some people have a design, a vision. Are you the type of full service agency where, hey, this is what you like, this is what you want, you're okay? Or some people just hire someone who says, do what you want. Do you do both? Like, do you have customers that are very
we
specific and you cater to everyone's needs? I'm assuming, right?
we do. It's interesting because in my field there's a lot of, high-end designers that are like,
Mm-hmm.
this is my look. You come to me if you want this look.
Got it.
Which I think is fantastic. But for us, we don't necessarily like to do that because this is someone's
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And, and so what we like to do is really help them develop their design in a strategic way. And it's way more of a collaborative effort. Yes, we have our own kind of vibe, and we have people that do see what we do on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and follow our daily stories and all of that. And they're like, you know what? It's Go ahead. You go ahead and run with it. We trust you. Fill us in when we need to, and we'll make those decisions. And we have clients like that. We have clients that come to the table with kind of two different ideas,
Different. Mm-hmm.
and they'll say that they want something modern, but yet all of the photos that they're showing us is a little bit
Uh,
more of a transitional.
mm-hmm.
So it's also defining the language and helping them develop that. So we do cater to both types of clients.
Beautiful. All right, good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. All right, we still have 7 more minutes to talk. 3F Living, remind us how we can reach out to you.
So you can go to our website,
Mhm.
3fliving.com. You can also reach out to us at info@3fliving. And yeah, or follow us on Instagram at 3fliving.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, so there's so much to you, to your, I call it the dynamic duo couple.
Thank
And
you.
do you guys ever butt heads a lot? I mean, it's good to work
Um,
together, but does it happen all the time?
yes, yes, it still happens. It
Mhm.
still happens completely. I mean, we are both very passionate people, and in which I think really shows in our design because we think about every little aspect of it. And
Mhm.
so I think that in working together, it's really taught us to, like, when we both give each other that look, like, all right,
Mhm.
I know you can't see what I'm doing. You can
Yeah.
see what I'm doing, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
audience probably can't see. But it's like that look of like, okay, we both need to like take a break, like take a
Mhm.
minute, and kind of deep breathe a little bit. But I also think that it pushes us both, to be
Yeah,
better. And I think that when clients come to the table with a few different ideas, we are
it's
kind of the yin and yang, and we're very different people just in general, like, you know
oh, I love it.
yeah.
And by the way, if you go to their website, there's some great testimonials. Can I just read one or two? Do you
Sure,
mind?
of course.
Um,
No, go ahead.
uh, Lindsay was referred to me by my real estate agent after the first time I met her. I knew she would be the person I trusted with the job. This is from Paulina. Paulina's a homeowner. She handled both the renovations and interior design for a new apartment. And despite ongoing pandemic and restrictions that came along with it, she and her team persevered and exceeded my expectations from start to finish. Lindsay transformed my apartment into a comfortable and beautiful haven, and I couldn't be happier. Here's another one. Vincent says, Lindsay, and is it Atomic or Atomic?
Tolmec.
Tomek
Tolmec.
oversaw a full gut renovation of my home during the height of COVID. Not an easy job during normal times. Their guidance, experience, and counsel made a very stressful project bearable during a horrific period in all our lives. I would definitely hire them for my next project. And again, testimonials speak louder than words. Uh, um, and just curious, how does it work if someone today is interested in your services? Do you offer an initial consultation? What's the format? And could you explain that part of the process?
Yeah, sure. So usually, somebody that comes on and gives us basically their scope of work, where they're located. I'll typically set up, depending on where they're located, I'll set up like an initial Zoom call as just like a meet and greet, and we can kind of talk through the process and maybe what they are interested in. And then after that, we'll either set up a second meeting and we'll send a proposal based on the scope of work that we've reviewed. And it usually continues weekly or every few days of just like follow up and open communication. So,
Awesome, awesome. 3F living. And what would you
yeah.
say sets you all apart from the rest?
I really think that I didn't know how this was going to work, but I really think that the dynamic through the trials and
Hmm.
restructuring of my husband and I working together has made it just very different. I feel like that when people come to us, that they feel comfortable, and
Yeah.
trust is everything in our business. And I feel like that since we are home to each other, that we automatically make people feel comfortable and willing to open up and trust us through this process.
Oh, beautifully
Yeah.
said. All right.
Mhm.
Well, we still got
Thank you.
2 minutes left in the show. What else do you want to share with your audience for today and about 3F living and, why you could be of service to them?
Sure. I mean, I think that, like I said, I think that, going through this process, especially in the city, and really having someone define every step of the way on,
Hmm.
like, we literally have, once we sign on a client, we have a checklist. We have a 9-step kind of protocol. It's almost like a handbook that we give to our clients. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing
Yeah.
every single week to meet
Hmm.
those deadlines. And we do that for what we call phase one, which is design and architecture. And then we do the same thing for phase two, which is managing the construction site, being their eyes and ears to move in day. And so I think by having all of these templates that really help manage the expectations of our
Hmm.
clients is so beneficial for them. And I also think that it makes them like rest easy too. Because if we have a client that's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That's like a very hard thing to kind of navigate, especially when they understand that it's time is money, because a lot of our clients are, are
Mhm.
renting while they've just purchased. So they're renting, they're paying a mortgage, they're paying maintenance day one of ownership, and they just want to get it started. And it sometimes takes like a month, 2 months,
Yeah.
3 months just to
Mhm.
break ground on something. So,
Yeah.
we always are very, holistic about what we do. And we're always very conscious of time and money for our clients.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. Pleasure getting to know you. And for new listeners out there, again, we want to remind you to reach out. Tell us the website and contact information again.
It's www. The number three, the letter F, living, living.com. You can follow us on Instagram at 3F Living. And you can also email at
All right,
info@3fliving.com.
I'm going to follow you on Instagram. Is that okay?
Yes,
All right,
100%.
perfect. Looking forward to connecting again. Do we have another show coming up as well?
Do. So next week, we're going to talk about how do you renovate in New York City? The
Beautiful.
process.
I was going to ask for a teaser. Not everybody has them, but that's a
Yeah.
good one. All right. Thank you
Yes.
so much. You have a fantastic day. And to all of our
Thank
listeners and
you.
viewers, stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.